Someday soon, those blue eyes will take everything away from you, Kawaki. Hey, how's it going? In today's video, I'm talking about omnipotence. We know it switched the roles of Boruto and Kawaki, but what if Eida rewriting reality also caused an indirect reversal of Boruto and Kawaki's destinies as well? If you pay attention to the narratives of both Part 1 and Part 2 of the series so far, Boruto's story in Part 2 seems to be shifting gears in a similar manner to Kawaki's story in Part 1, up until Kawaki's betrayal, of course. While in contrast, Kawaki's life seems to be going in a direction that Boruto's was heading to in Part 1, where he slowly is starting to lose everything. This video will contain spoilers for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. You have been warned. With that being said, let's get started. So it's no secret that Kawaki has made a lot of bad decisions. From sealing away Naruto and Hinata to betraying his friends, adoptive siblings, and other comrades. Then there's the part where he lied to everyone about Naruto's death and framed an innocent person in Boruto. The idea of him trying to kill Boruto on several occasions is also horrible, considering that Kawaki himself has faced similar circumstances with his own karma seal at one point. No one thought that Kawaki would gain better morals in Part 2, but we at least expected him to make more strategic decisions. But he hasn't gotten any better at all. In fact, if anything, he has gotten worse. Kawaki has truly reached new levels of delusion, believing he can take down Boruto, believing he can take down Code. Mind you, these are two people Kawaki hasn't seen in the better half of 3 years, and he didn't anticipate or even prepare for the possibility of either one of them training and getting stronger than when he last encountered them. Kawaki believes that shinobi are inferior to Ishiki's power, that they are merely a tool at this point to help him kill Boruto. Kawaki believes that his perspective is the only right one and that anyone who thinks differently is a nuisance or must disappear. And finally, Kawaki believes that once he has succeeded in his goals, that Naruto will go along with his deranged plan and kill him. Kawaki is a walking contradiction, and his arrogance has not only made things worse for himself, but the people around him as well. It seems like the harder he's trying to protect Naruto, the worse he is making circumstances for everyone and everything Naruto cares about. If anything is going to lead to his downfall, it will be his arrogance. A lot of people try to make the point that Boruto was the one who lost everything in Part 1. I actually don't think that's necessarily true. Boruto did not truly lose everything. He even told Momoshiki in Chapter 80 that if omnipotence was his idea of making Boruto go into despair, then he's sadly mistaken. Sarada and Sumire still remembered who Boruto was. Yes, Boruto's parents were sealed away, but they're still alive. His sister is safe and well, and while Sasuke didn't remember Boruto as he was, having a familiar person around Boruto gave him a sense of hope that circumstances could change for the better later on. He just needs to get stronger first. Kawaki was indeed the one who lost everything. He is just delusional in thinking that he didn't. Nearly everyone who views Kawaki in the village thinks of him as they would think of Boruto, the person he wants to kill. To some degree, that has to eat at his ego. The bonds Kawaki created prior to omnipotence were wiped away, as everyone who hates Boruto now hates Kawaki. And yes, Kawaki got what he wanted. Naruto is safe and alive, but he can't speak to Naruto. He can't train with Naruto. He can't interact with Naruto. What good is Naruto to him if Naruto cannot be himself? His adoptive parents are also in a state arguably worse than death because they have no consciousness. And Kawaki put their lives in even more danger because if he gets killed, Naruto and Hinata will be trapped in the Daikoku-ten dimension forever. Ask yourself this: what does Kawaki in Part 1, after the death of Ishiki, and Boruto in Part 2 have in common? They were both willing to walk down the path of the shinobi, and neither one of them used their karma. In Kawaki's case at the time, he didn't know Amato gave back his karma to him, and Boruto is willingly choosing not to use his karma for his own safety and the safety of others. They are both viewed as complex characters, as some people see them as good And while others, or rather the majority of people in the Leaf, don't trust Boruto post-omnipotence, and they didn't trust Kawaki pre-omnipotence. Now, what do Boruto during the Chunin exams and Kawaki in part 2 have in common? They both didn't respect the traditions of the shinobi, and they both looked for shortcuts to power. Kawaki uses Ishiki's dojutsu, his karma seal, for nearly everything in combat, and he also relies on his ninja tech enhanced body. If you take all three of those things away from him, what does Kawaki really have to offer? Nothing. Boruto used ninja tech, despite being a genius amongst his peers. It's not necessarily a problem that he was using ninja tech, but he used it to a point where he wasn't truly relying on his own skill, which greatly disappointed Naruto, since the foundations of a shinobi is determination and the will to never give up. Boruto taking shortcuts would get him on a better path faster, or at least that's what he thought, and was quickly humbled by Naruto and Momoshiki during the invasion in that arc. Naruto would look at this version of Kawaki with the same disappointment he gave to Boruto. Kawaki had 3 years in the village and did nothing significant with that time. As Boruto even points out in Blue Vortex chapter 9, did Kawaki even train at all? And my guess is no. He likely learned how to better use Sukuna Hikona and Daikoku Ten and called it a day. He should be miles ahead of Boruto at this point, or at least able to keep up with base Boruto in combat. There are so many shinobi in the Leaf Village who may not be as strong as Kawaki, but he could have learned a lot from. It's not always about who's stronger and more capable. Sometimes it's just good to listen to predecessors to obtain knowledge to better your own path. Kakashi could have showed him how to apply nature transformation to his ninjutsu. Konohamaru could have taught him how to better utilize fire style ninjutsu and shadow clone jutsu. He had the entire Hyuga clan in his arsenal to help him with his taijutsu. Tsunade or Sakura could have taught him chakra control. Something, anything. What Kawaki doesn't realize is that the people are starting to wake up to omnipotence. He was never as smart as he thought he was. Sarada and Sumire were outright immune to it. Eida and Damon are also immune, and if they decide to turn on Kawaki, he can easily get exposed through that alone. Amato figured it out really quickly because why would Kawaki, who's supposed to be Momoshiki's vessel, need technical repairs of things Amato could have only developed himself? And why would he have Akabe's DNA inside of his karma seal? Shikamaru and Ino figured it out too, especially after cooperating with Boruto. And it's not going to stop with these people. More and more people are going to figure it out. Team 10, Konohamaru at some point, Himawari, and so on will find out as well. Kawaki did a very poor job in reacting and handling Code's invasion, and this also planted the seeds of distrust in multiple people. Despite wanting to kill Code, Kawaki doesn't even make it a priority number 1 to go after him. He decides to protect the villagers instead, which at first seems noble, until you realize, wait, doesn't he only care about Naruto? Doesn't he want to free Naruto? The time has come and he's been waiting to end Boruto and Code's life for 3 years. And now now that they're finally there, he doesn't jump at this opportunity. Maybe he's just not as brave as he thinks he is, or he's just not willing to off himself like he keeps declaring. He doesn't even put trust in others to deal with the claw grinds while he faces Boruto and Code. He specifically goes there with Team 10 and Himawari. Blue Vortex Chapter 3 is where I feel as though Kawaki lost Team 10. Kawaki in a cowardly manner tried to attack Boruto from behind. He also didn't give Boruto the opportunity to explain himself. Why was he back in the village? How was he able to take down Code? Or anything along those lines. Also, instead of Kawaki bringing in Code for questioning and an interrogation, since his claw grinds were responsible for turning people into trees, he decides that Code must just die because that's his own selfish goal. It's ridiculous. Code knows more about the situation than anyone in the Leaf Village did at this point. So killing him made no logical sense for the benefit of everyone. Maybe Code could have turned everyone who was turned into trees back into normal people. But Kawaki's stupidity also led to Code escaping from the Leaf Village, as Boruto was literally trying to get Code to go into Jigen's dimension. Had Kawaki not intervened, Boruto may have stopped the Shinju from being created in the first place. He may have made it in time to kill the main Ten Tails body. Since the events of Blue Vortex chapters 8 and 9, we find out that Himawari has Kurama now. If this is the same Kurama Naruto had, and he still has his old memories, then Kurama may not have been affected by Omnipotence. Kurama might even be immune, since after all, he's just a manifestation of chakra. And if that's the case, Kurama can tell Himawari that Boruto is her real brother, since Kurama was shown to directly interact with Kawaki in part 1. He would also know Kawaki is the adoptive child. Himawari is not a dishonest character, and once she finds out this information, and she has been shown to be very close to Inoshika's show, I don't see why she wouldn't tell them the truth. And they could put 2 and 2 together as well, since they would likely believe her because of Kawaki's strange behavior. Kawaki literally said in front of them and Himawari to not call him Big Brother, which doesn't make any sense if they're biological siblings. Kawaki also never showed an appreciation for Eida. While she does care about him still, her feelings were never reciprocated by him. She only likes Kawaki because he's older than Boruto and immune to her omnipotence. Now that Boruto is older and wiser, Eida is starting to see more of an interest in him instead. I see a point where, just like Code, she will end up dropping Kawaki to pursue Boruto, meaning Kawaki will lose his greatest ally, and he could easily have kept her if he just showed the slightest care about her well-being when the Shinju pretty much threatened to eat her. He only cared about, say it with me now, Naruto. Eida closing ties with Kawaki would also mean that Delta and Damon will close ties as well. 2 people who don't even respect Kawaki. Mitsuki, just like Eida, still has a high regard for Kawaki, as he once did for Boruto, but he's starting to see his true friend in Boruto post-omnipotence. Boruto took the time to listen and understand Mitsuki, something Kawaki never bothered doing, always calling him annoying and weird. I bet right now in the story, Mitsuki is even stronger than Kawaki. The fact that Mitsuki was able to assess Boruto and Kawaki's levels of power and felt that Kawaki wasn't strong enough to beat Code and Boruto says a lot. Kawaki is losing his comrades one by one, and the more Mitsuki interacts with Boruto, the more he'll definitely find out the truth. Even during Jura's invasion, nothing's changed. Kawaki doesn't do any damage to Jura or Hidari, and is knocked out instantly. Just like Boruto in part 1, Kawaki is not even close to being the strongest. Things are out of his control because he lacks the power to do anything to take these new threats down. He even stupidly asked if the Shinju are friends of Boruto's. He doesn't do the smart thing and put his differences aside with Boruto to take down a mutual enemy. He would rather be weaker by himself than accept an ally, which completely goes against what Naruto was trying to teach him in part 1. Taking on multiple different enemies at the same time just isn't practical from a standpoint of war. If Boruto is willing to help him take down an immediate threat, then why not? Because that will prove his mindset wrong. Because that will force him to look in the mirror and truly see himself as the monster he has become. As long as Boruto can keep his karma in check, why on earth would he be a threat to his friends and family? Kawaki also gets one-shotted by Boruto, further proving he is in over his head. So he decided to essentially activate his karma. Boruto, having a more unstable karma, leaves the battle. Kawaki doesn't even think to himself, man, Boruto is really trying to deal with Momoshiki. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I can work with him. After all, he did run Code away from the village too. Something I didn't or couldn't do. Wrong. Kawaki doesn't think that. Kawaki sees the karma resonance as another weapon to hunt down Boruto. And I believe this is what's going to cause even more problems down the line. I truly believe that Kawaki is the reason Momoshiki is going to take over Boruto again. Kawaki is likely going to do everything in his power to cause a karma resonance to ensure that Boruto can't fight at his fullest. Here's Kawaki's mistake though. Unlike in part 1, Kawaki will not be able to stand up against Momoshiki. If Boruto was strong enough in his base form to take down Code, Sage Mode Mitsuki, and compete with Hidari Matsuri and Shinju Bug, what do you think an amplified Karma Boruto can do, especially with Momoshiki taking over? Momoshiki would be beyond the power of Ishiki at this point, and no one would be able to stop him. Momoshiki may even be stronger than Jura himself. And if he grabs a hold of Kawaki and one of the Shinju, then it's game over for planet Earth. And clearly further in time, Kawaki hasn't learned anything. He clearly appears to be stronger as Boruto felt the need to use his Karma Seal and Jogan to compete with him. And Amato likely gave him the technical modifications at this point, but the fact still remains. He did not train. None of his powers was earned. It was merely given to him. Kawaki is like Boruto at the beginning of his story, an entitled person with father issues, a person who doesn't believe in hard work, and a person who will lose it all. There was a scene in the original Naruto series that sums Kawaki's eventual downfall up perfectly. It was specifically in Naruto chapter 552, and it is one of my favorite speeches in the franchise. This was during the 4th Great Shinobi War. Itachi, Killer Bee, and Naruto had just taken down Nagato and sealed him away. Naruto became very anxious, saying that he was going to stop the war all by himself. Like Kawaki currently in the story, who feels this way about having Ishiki's power, Naruto started relying heavily on Kurama's chakra before they truly bonded to solve all of his problems. Itachi gives Naruto the words that he needed to hear before he became the Hokage, to not do things by himself. Itachi admits that Naruto did get stronger through his new power, but lost sight of what was extremely important. Naruto did not get to the point in his life by himself. Those who cared about him helped him along the way. If you forget about everyone else because you have power, you will become arrogant and egotistical, and eventually you'll end up becoming like Madara. However powerful you are, don't take it all on by yourself because you will surely fail. There's a saying that the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Kawaki at this point in the story may still believe that he is the good guy, that his actions will bring a positive change to the world, that before creation there must come destruction. Ironic that the person who hates Otsutsuki the most acts the most like them. Kawaki's downfall will be due to Itachi's words, as Boruto will once again be acknowledged as the Hokage's son and use his Jogan to change things.